What's up, guys, and welcome back to the doctor's office, where you get your proper diagnosis and prognosis and everything comics and comic book characters. So you already know what it is, comic book characters you may or may not know about. Today we are talking about Latonya Charles, aka Cyborg Girl. So Latonya was the niece of Sarah Charles, who was one of the scientists that worked on Cyborg after he was injured. And Latonya had actually destroyed her body with a drug called tar, but she ended up getting a second chance by way of her aunt Sarah, who gave her some very powerful cybernetics, just like she had given to Cyborg when she helped work on Cyborg when he was injured. And instead of using her powers and her gift for good, she decided to be a whole villain. Now listen, if I were to have powers, I would not be a hero at all. I'm sorry. Villain life for me. Now, while at first she wasn't like a full villain, she really kind of just used this abilities for personal gain. She ended up joining with Villainy Inc., which was just a bunch of Wonder Woman villains at the time, and they tried to overthrow Skitaris before they were stopped by Wonder Woman. Now, if you are going to choose to be, if you're going to choose to be a villain, I don't think being a villain of Wonder Woman is where I would go. I feel like I would choose like Booster Gold or something. Vibe. But Wonder Woman, that's like, 0 to 100 immediately. That's crazy. Now, sometime later, the government, doing the thing that governments do, started to round villains up and send them to Planet Salvation. For which reason? Who knows? But if you were a villain, that's where you were going. So instead of going to Planet Salvation, she decided to turn herself over to the Justice League so that she was not exiled. So essentially, they were just being exiled to a completely different planet by the government. Now, this part of her biography I find extremely odd. She ended up joining up with the Cyborg Revenge Squad, and basically waged a war against Cyborg and Star Labs. And Cyborg evaded her like electromagnetic powers that she had with her cybernetic equipment, and just kind of managed to defeat her through sheer force. Where I'm confused at is why Cyborg didn't do anything to you. I don't really understand that part of your mission, and quite honestly, Wonder Woman didn't do anything to you either. Again, her choice of like who she decided to be a rogues gallery to is odd, but I digress. Continuing on. Of course, as it pertains to her abilities, she has the cybernetic enhancements, which gives her superhuman speed, reflexes, agility, stamina, durability. She can do energy projection, and she has the enhanced senses that come with her cybernetics. So what is the diagnosis? This character is really weird. Again, they chose kind of just like a black girl who was on drugs and decided to give her powers. And I feel like it would have been a much better story if she were like a partner to Cyborg, especially taking the name Cyborg Girl. I feel like it would have been a much better story to be like Cyborg's partner at some point in time versus joining a revenge squad against Cyborg when Cyborg didn't do anything to you. I think that that's really odd in her story. Another part of that's odd is who she chose to be whose rogues gallery she chose to be part of. She got these cybernetics because she destroyed her body, and her aunt gave her these cybernetics and gave her these abilities, and she chose to be a villain. If that's what you choose to do, I'm already telling you now, if ever I were to get superpowers, I would be a villain. I mean, the villain arc is there. However, I would not go for being one of the top superheroes in the entire universe. I would not want to be one of their villains. Like, I would pick somebody that I know for a fact I could beat all the time. I feel like she kind of missed the lesson with Joker, because the Joker beats up Batman with a fucking crowbar in a purple suit and some lipstick every time they meet up. Prep time my ass. You know what I'm saying? And so it's just like she randomly chose to be a villain in the Rogues Gallery of Wonder Woman, and that was her first choice. I think that that's so odd in writing, because why would you write that? If it was for personal gain, I feel like it sounds like she would have been kind of powerful with her cybernetics, so I would put her on the same level as Cyborg, and I would not put her as doing petty crimes. For sure, not really. But I also would not put her as being the villain for Wonder Woman. That is such strange writing. Prognosis, we haven't really seen her since she came out, and there's probably a good fucking reason for that. Whoever was writing her just needed to stop. And the stories that they had her in were just not really good for her character. It seemed really out of place. Again, bringing somebody in calling herself Cybergirl, I think would have worked better if, maybe she was a villain of Wonder Woman. She turned herself over to the Justice League because she didn't want to be exiled with the other villains, and then went under the wing of Cyborg, who was also part of the Justice League at that time. And then they were partners, and then she decided to kind of go her own way, and that's when they kind of just dissipate the story as per usual. But DC's writing, when it comes to black characters, particularly black women, they don't really know what to do with her or them in general, and it's weird. It's very weird, and I just wish that they would do better writing when it comes to these characters like this. But anyway, that is Latonya Charles, aka Cybergirl.